should say who I am. I'm Todd Tsuchiya. I am part of the Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha, and really grateful for this relationship that we've been able to nurture. And it's been a relationship that I think we all really value, and hopefully something that we will continue to build upon. We've had many shared experiences through things like our Ted speaking at one of our conferences. We've been able to share Dharma talks with each other's services. Even through the pandemic, we've been able to continue this relationship. We shared hosting Duncan Williams. I don't know if those of you who were around for that. That was a wonderful experience. Plus some social issues like the ICOM gatherings, the immigration issues, just to name a few. And I think just to emphasize that we're really truly interconnected in many ways. Some we know and some we don't know. That's been throughout our long histories between our groups. Just many stories, really too numerous to talk about, even extending back to Katagiri Roshi and one of our ministers going way back through in their younger days. So the connection is really wonderful and meaningful for us. So my responsibility and in our discussions of organizing the service, my job here today is to introduce the service order today as we go along. So today we have an opportunity to share our traditions with each other through this joint service. And so we'll share rituals and talks from our respective traditions, and really to deepen our understanding of Buddhism, but really more importantly, I think, is to deepen our connection with each other. So before I begin, I just want to take a moment to make a comment about the chanting ritual that we're about to proceed with today. And I know it's not a common practice for you on a Sunday, so just to take a moment from how we as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists may perceive chanting. And chanting is really meaningful, I think, for a number of reasons. And it's important to understand, I think, number one, is that what we're doing when we're chanting is we're reciting the Buddha's words. And that's important to know. So we're really carrying on a tradition that's been handed down over the centuries with our collected voices. And the ritual aspect of chanting helps us maintain a link to this history. So chanting can also be, I think, meditative. And as being fully engaged in chanting enables us to focus on the present moment. And this meditative aspect is helpful even if we don't know the meaning of the words. And you'll understand what I mean by that when we go through our version of chanting. And so for that reason, when we chant, from our perspective, from my perspective, it's not the time to really intellectualize the experience, to really try to understand. It's really about, I think intellectualization gets in the way of listening with our hearts. So chanting together allows for a feeling of oneness among all of us who participate. So our collective voices blend together in a synergy that transcends space and time. So we'll begin today's service with a ritual from the Soto Zen tradition, starting with the chanting of the Heart Sutra, which will be led by Ted and Jeremy. And the Heart Sutra is an important and commonly recited sutra in the Mahayana tradition, and it gives the essence of the perfection of wisdom. And after the chanting of the Heart Sutra, this will be followed by the recitation of the Bodhisattva vows, which will be led by Ted. And both can be found in your handouts that you have on your chairs. So thank you.
Golden Sutra.
Nothing to
continue on with chanting from the Jodo Shinshu tradition. First it will be Sambujo, which will be led by Chiemi Sensei and I. Sambujo is the three respectful columns. And what it is it's a chant that invites Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha, Amida Buddha, and all the Buddhas of the Ten Direction, invite them into our space, into our dojo, into our zendo. And that is not, unfortunately, not on your handout. That's something that Chiemi Sensei and I will be doing together. Then that will be followed by Jusei-Gei. Jusei-Gei is in your handout, so we invite you all to chant with us. And it comes from the Jodo Shinshu tradition that it's taken from one of the three main Pure Land Sutras that we identify in our tradition. And it's the sutra is the Sutra on the Buddha of Immeasurable Life. So Jusei-Gei means three sacred vows and expresses the Bodhisattva's determination to work for the deliverance of all beings as their goal to help the poor and the suffering. So it is chanted in a very stylized Japanese, as you'll see. And for most of us, including me, it's not something that I understand, readily understand, but as I mentioned earlier, that's not what is important today. And it's meant to be experienced for the ears of your heart. So these will be led by Reverend Onakura, and will be followed by the reading of the three treasures, and they're both, as I mentioned, found in your handout.
Namanda, 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 Namanda. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when it will be realized, let us diligently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge.
Different version.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shall I start again?
Start where you
Start with the whole.
everybody together.
Okay, everybody together. Thank you. I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the very path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration, which is to become a Buddha. I rely on the Dharma. May I, along with all sentient beings, deeply reflect on the meaning of the sutras and gain wisdom that is as deep and vast as the ocean. I rely on the Sangha. May I, along with all sentient beings, become one Sangha of life, able to move forward and live with a dynamic spirit that is hindered by nothing. The unsurpassed, deep and wondrous Dharma, even in millions of harvests, in extremely difficult encounter, but now I am able to experience and embrace it. May I come to understand and reveal the true meaning of the Tathagata.
Thank you, Chiemi. She was just about to lead us in a totally different direction. Who knows where we're going. Anyway, thank you so much for all joining in. That was really, it was moving for me to hear all of our collective voices together. I know that was a very unfamiliar chant for many of you. But I don't know if you could also, I'll move off script a little bit here. Chanting the two different chants, one in English and one in a language that you probably don't even know, will probably do different, you probably experience them differently, right? You could, I felt I was experiencing more thinking about it. The other was I was experiencing more with different senses. Not that either one is better or worse, it's just two very different experiences that I guess that I perceived as I was chanting both, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do both, so thank you. So before I introduce our two speakers, our two Dharma talks today, I just want to, since Ted gave me this stage here, just take a moment to talk about maybe a Jodo Shinshu perspective on a ritual that I see that we share together, and that's the ritual of Gassho, or putting our hands together. I know that's something we all do, but I just want to talk about it maybe just very briefly about from the Jodo Shinshu tradition. As you know, the Gassho, or putting our palms together, is originated from India, and it's used to greet a person, meaning hello, goodbye, thank you, but also reverence. But in our tradition, the Gassho is more than just a pose. It's really symbolic of the Dharma, or the truth about life. So when we place our right and left hand together, they're symbolic of putting two opposites together. And it's like you and me, light and dark, life and death, ignorance and wisdom, putting those two together. And the left hand in our tradition, we talk about it representing the human realm. The right hand represents the enlightened realm. So when we place our hands together, we also place this nenju. This is called a nenju. And nenju, it means mindfulness beads. So nen means to think on. So think on the Buddha. And so we refer to them as the nenju, or the mindfulness beads. And we put them around both hands. So by encircling our hands, it represents the Buddha's teachings. So by doing so, we're saying that through the Buddha's teachings, these opposites are really one. It's a non-dualistic thinking. And it's the recognition of the oneness of essentially seemingly opposites. So Gassho and bowing also symbolizes respect and humility. I think that is conveyed when I see you Gassho or bow to each other. And it's also expression of our feelings of gratitude, our interconnection with each other. And it symbolizes the realization that our lives are supported by innumerable causes and conditions. The depth of gratitude is really understanding that we're supported by so much that we know and don't know. So gasho, or placing our palms together and bowing, is an expression of life and our innermost feelings. And in our tradition, we also say Namo Amida Buddha. You probably have heard that and wondering what in the world are they saying. But that is the name of Amida Buddha. And Amida Buddha meaning the Buddha of infinite light and life, or the Buddha of infinite wisdom and compassion. And that's symbolized by this, our altar here is the Japanese characters is Namo Amida Buddha, and that symbolizes Amida Buddha. Having it in words makes you understand that it's not a being or a person that you're idolizing. It's an understanding of the embodiment of infinite wisdom and compassion. But saying that also is to have the mind to bow down and to be humble and to let go of hanging on to yourself. And that's the Namo part. The Amida Buddha part of Namo Amida Buddha means to identify with all beings. Amida is infinite light and life, infinite wisdom and compassion. And this doesn't mean living forever, but it means to identify with all beings, to all lives connected and symbolized by compassion. So it's the expression of gratitude beyond words. So, sorry, I just took a little bit more time than I should. Sorry, Ted. But next we'll have Dharma messages shared by two wonderful teachers. And first will be from the Twin Cities Sangha and one of our minister's assistants, Reverend Debra Ting. You'll speak from up if you want.
Stand here, maybe.
You want to stand or?
Yes,
Okay.
probably. I'm so honored to be here. Can you hear me? I'm so honored to be asked to speak on behalf of the Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha. I'm so honored to be here, and so I thank you. Before we begin, please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Buddha.
Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha.
At our last service, led by Reverend Chiemi, we celebrated Ohigan, which I'll just tell you a little bit about it. It is, Higan is a translation of the Sanskrit word paramita, and it means arriving on the other shore or crossing to the other shore. And in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, the other shore is crossing into the Pure Land, or to enlightenment, or nirvana, which is in contrast to the earthly shore of birth and death. And we observe Higan twice during the year, at the time of the spring equinox and also the autumn equinox. And so Higan occurs during the time when night and day are equal, and all is in balance and harmony. This time of balance and harmony reminds us of the same virtues of the Amida Buddha, who made the promise that all will be born into the Pure Land. And so in gratitude for the Amida Buddha, for the promise of the Amida Buddha, we see Ohigan as a time for deep reflection on the qualities of the enlightened being, as expressed through the 6 paramitas, which are giving, generosity, right behavior, patience and inclusiveness, effort and perseverance, meditation and contemplation, and wisdom and understanding. I think deep reflection is really a natural response for all of us during these times of the spring and the autumn equinox, when we have these balanced and pleasant days, especially because the seasonal changes can actually be quite dramatic for us here in Minnesota, when the climate changes so vividly and viscerally and profoundly, we are almost compelled to go within. And so these times also invite us to contemplate much about the cycle of birth and death and birth, March when everything is about to come alive, and then September when we anticipate the reverse and the leaves are falling from the trees and the animals begin to hibernate and the earth quiets down. So 2 weeks ago, with our celebration of Ohigan, fall was just beginning to show itself. And the changes have been rapidly moving ever since. The days have gotten even shorter, the nights are colder, the leaves are beginning to blanket the ground, and we can feel that winter is just around the corner. I love autumn, I love the cool nights, and I love the sunny days, and the beauty of the changing trees. I love the coziness of pulling out warm, soft sweaters, and turning on the fireplace, everything that goes with it, pumpkin muffins and apple cider. But I think there's something about fall that just makes me feel kind of tucked in and safe and cozy. Many of you may feel the same, but I realize the other side of all this is that winter is coming. And I have many friends who tell me they don't like fall. They hate fall. They say, sure, I know it's beautiful, but I know what's coming next. And I am dreading winter. Because we may want summer to go on forever. We may resent these shorter days and long, dark evenings. Because winter is difficult, and the dark days and nights can be wearing. It often seems as if winter goes on way too long. But I've been reflecting about this, and I've been thinking that this unhappy anticipation of winter, this dread of winter, is just a tiny example of the many little ways daily in which we create our own suffering. By not accepting that everything changes, big or small, and being upset about it, by clinging to what we prefer, and so we suffer. And it's in these little daily sufferings that add up and make us become who we are. There's an author, Pierre Pradervan, he said the most important choices we make in life are not the dramatic turning points, such as our change of our career, or the person we marry, or the country we immigrate to. The most important choices are the thoughts and the feelings that we choose to entertain, moment after moment, day after day. They shape our lives more surely than any outward circumstance. We can look at the first two of the Four Noble Truths. One, that life is suffering, and two, the truth of the cause of suffering is rooted in our refusal to accept the truth of the first, in our insistence and mistaken belief that we can have life be different from what it is. And when we consider suffering, we often think of the four big ones, the birth and aging and sickness and death. But all the little sufferings are what we live on a daily basis, experiencing unpleasantness, needing our desires to be met, clinging to what we want, believing that the things that happen to us, such as bitter cold weather, is somehow personal. And so we suffer in little ways throughout our days due to our very human way of being in the world. It is not easy to let go of our attachments and to recognize the little daily sufferings which we engage. It's not easy to cease from suffering from them. So how do we live in joy and peace, given our very human way of being in the world? I want to quote another author, Rachel Naomi Bremen, who wrote the book Kitchen Table Wisdom. She said, there is a fundamental paradox that the less we are attached to life, the more alive we can become. The less we have preferences about life, the more deeply we can experience and participate in life. She says, this is not to say that I don't prefer raisin toast over blueberry muffins. It is to say that I don't prefer raisin toast so much that I am unwilling to get out of bed unless I can have raisin toast. Or that the absence of raisin toast ruins the whole day. Embracing life may be more about tasting than it is about either raisin toast or blueberry muffins. So embracing life, as she says, to me is about embracing the wisdom of the first two of the Noble Truths, that life is suffering and that we suffer because we don't want this to be so. It is in the acceptance of these truths that we can let go of our clinging and find serenity and joy. I saw your many statues, your bodhisattvas, and Avalokiteshvara, the compassion and mercy, and I'm reminded of the compassion and mercy that embraces us even as we act and live in our very human ways. And it is in knowing and receiving that compassion that frees us to live in serenity and joy. For us, as Shin Buddhists, that's our short way of saying Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, we say the Nembutsu, which Todd explained, Namo Amida Buddha. And it is in that recitation that we relax and we let go. And we begin to rest in the arms of the Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite and immeasurable wisdom and compassion and light. And as we say the words Namo Amida Butsu, we embrace the Amida Buddha, who promised the Pure Land to each of us. We sink into the depths of such profound kindness and compassion, and our minds and our hearts are transformed. Gratitude enters in, gratitude for the generosity and the deep compassion of the Amida Buddha. And then gratitude for each moment. And joy and peace just naturally arises for each and all of the moments in which we live. We embrace the truth about life as expressed in the first of the Four Noble Truths, and we step out of our very human way of suffering. We move beyond our attachments. I saw this quote somewhere, and I don't remember where I saw it, but I just love it. It says, if you choose not to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life and still the same amount of snow. And so with gratitude to the Buddha, to the Amida Buddha, to all the Bodhisattvas, may all beings enjoy an autumn and a winter that is peaceful and joyful no matter what comes our way. Please join me again with that show. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Debra. I certainly have a different perspective on it. So next we'll have a talk shared by Ted Tool, and obviously you're familiar with your guiding teacher, but our Sangha is not unfamiliar with Ted Sensei, as he has shared many times at our gatherings and is a good friend of our Sangha as well. So thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Todd. Well, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And just welcome to everyone who is here, everyone in the room, my school Zendo, folks online. We can see you on the screen. There are a lot of you. It's wonderful. And as Todd mentioned, MZMC and the Twin Cities Buddhist Association have a strong relationship going back a few years now. I think this is our third joint service, and we've done other things together, which Todd mentioned, and I hope this will continue for a long time. I think we have a lot we can learn from each other. I think there are many ways that we can support each other. One reason we can learn from each other is our groups have kind of a different emphasis, and yet I am so struck by how much we're the same in so many ways. I just feel at the core of what we're doing, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's allowing ourselves to be Buddha. Jodo Shinshu, it's a Shin tradition. One thing we notice about that is that there is more of an emphasis on chanting, more devotional practice. Zen, more of an emphasis on meditation. And I've been thinking about these two approaches quite a lot because I'm teaching a class on the Lotus Sutra right now. And one thing we're talking about is we have terms for these two different emphases in Zen, Ji-Riki and Ta-Riki, which some of you are familiar with. Ji-Riki is self-power. Self-power, these are like things I can do to prepare myself to be awakened. Meditation, mindful activities, things like that. And then we have Tariki, other power, which is associated more with chanting and devotional activities, which is kind of letting Buddha in, I would say. That's how I see it, letting Buddha in. Not going out to find Buddha, but letting Buddha in, making oneself a kind of an empty vessel. And I was looking at one source this morning that says Zen is a Jiriki school. Well, I suppose it is, but there are a lot of elements of Tariki in Zen as well. And I'm sure that there are elements of both in Shin Buddhism as well. And I think it's two sides of the same coin, two practices, two types of practices, both of which are very important. And I think that we can use self-power to prepare our mind to be receptive. We need to quiet our minds. Our minds are so busy, and there are many ways we can do that. But ultimately, there's a kind of great letting go that occurs when we are awakened. You can't do it all through self-power. You can't go out and find Buddha. At some point, you have to relax and let Buddha come to you. So I really feel that the element of other power is very important in our tradition too. And I appreciate the chanting, it's so beautiful. You know, something happens in the heart level there. It gets us out of our minds. And it's so nice to see the Butsudan and Bodhisattva both on this altar, representing two beautiful approaches to what we do. And ultimately, that distinction disappears. There's no Tariki, there's no Jiriki, it's just Buddha. And people coming together is just Buddha. So this is it's a glorious moment.